born when I was in the service.
So you went into the service back in 1941, was it?
Yeah, down there. Then I went down to, I was going to this, at that time I think I was in Benning, going to that officers training school. And then Mother moved down with us. And
That's in Georgia.
we stayed in Georgia. And we had a maid there. Her name was Almara. It's the strangest, and she was a 17-year-old little girl, colored girl. And of course, before she come, Mother had to clean the house first. She cleaned that house too, because she didn't want to see her any mess. And that poor, all she did was babysit you. She's just crazy. And then of course, outside of you that she loved, every time the garbage went out, they used convicts. They used to come back with Filipino people, and they would pick up all colored boys, you know. And she just sit out there with you and flirt with them, you know, and they, you know, they had a ball. Well, then finally, that didn't last too long, and they sent me to Maryland, a little secret camp up in the hills near Hagerstown, and it was made up of agents from all over the world. It was like a Tower of Babel in there. I mean, and we had preliminary intelligence training, dirty fighting, and all that jazz, you know. And then Mother came down and stayed there with me for a little while. And then I was shipped overseas to England, and in the meantime, Mary Ann, what's her name?
Mary
Mary, your sister, Mary Pat. There's so many Mary something. Mary Pat, she was born when I was when I was in England, I got word that she was born. So you see, I was never there when you were born or she was born. So then when I got to England, they sent us to Highgate, England. That was a real super secret intelligence outfit. I mean, we had everything. We had forgers and con men and lock pickers, and they were out of prison camps. We had the best of everything. In the meantime, I was given a crash course from artists that were stranded in, like Jewish people and so on, that were in England, and they were giving me these courses on painting in different mediums and so on, because that was going to be my cover. Now, I went way back. The reason, because I did hocus pocus, they wanted somebody who could deceive. Because the kind of work that we were in, we were called retrievers. Our job was to bring escapers, evaders out of the country, or get them out of prison camp, get them down to the Spanish border or the coast or so on, or set up committees in these camps and so on. And when we got through with that, I met General Eisenhower, of course, with the group, and all he told us, I want you to get along with your counterpart, the British, because we do want good feelings. You're working with them, you're working for them more or less, and they have certain peculiarities, and we don't want you to, you know. So that's all he told us. And then his aide told us, now you are retrievers. That is your job. You are to mess up, to foul up things for the Germans, and I know you're good at it. You do that, bring out people if you can. Don't fight, you're not soldiers. Keep away from any battle. We don't want any heroes in this outfit. Just get the people out and that's it. So that was the job I had. And they set me up in a studio in Grenoble, and they dropped us in. First they were going to boat us in, because everything was screwed up, because we were sort of not a bastard outfit, but sort of, they didn't know exactly how to treat us. The Army did, you know. So finally they were going to boat us out into Cherbourg, and we were going to make our way in. Then they decided the last minute, we'll give you some jump training and you'll drop you. Well, they never did give us the jump training. They just told us that you come and we put on our clothes and different things we were going to carry, and they put us in an old plane, a British plane, I don't know what it was. It stunk of oil and grease in there, and it was in a hole down, they call a Joe hole. You're supposed to sit over with a little rope stuck up, and they said, you watch the light, when it's red, you go. And I'm getting sick, I wanted to throw up because it was really awful, so I'm scared to death. I'm cold, and then finally they pushed me out, and then the other guy pushed the other one out, and we come down, boom, my shoes flew off. I just had short shoes, and then I could see down there lights down underneath where cars were all lined up in a big circle. You'd say, jeepers, what are they doing there? Because in the central part of France, the kind of Germans that were around wouldn't come near there. They weren't the regulars, you know. But I was worried about those big hay rakers down there, you know. They have a lot of them, you know. Oh my God, I'm going to swing into one of those, you know, I'm going to get impaled. Finally I came down, and I didn't break a leg, but I felt pretty bad. And they were all rushing around. And the first thing they did, they wanted to buy the silk. I'm supposed to wrap it and bury it. And that was, they told me, where the hell are you going to bury it? I'm in a big field here, you know. And they wanted the silk. And then, you know, those nylon cords, they wanted those two to tie up the grape and all that. They give me money for it. I thought, just take the damn stuff, you can have it. So then they got me out to Grenoble, out to the studio. But then because of the accent I had, it was evident that I came from down near Nice, near southern France. So that I got in, knowing the German officers used to come in to buy stuff, you know, paintings. All the paintings I didn't have to do because they had other painters making them, bringing them down, because I didn't have time to fool around. I'd do one and working on it while they come in. And they'd buy this crap, you know. And I got it, and then I had an excuse that I would go down and visit my folks so that I could travel, you know, move on, or I'd paint out. So this one colonel, one time, he was the break for me. He brought me a photograph, colored photograph, hand colored, you know, one of those things. And he wanted a painting of him, his wife, himself, and his two sons. And he says, when you paint this one son, make him look a little stronger. He looked like a little weakling, you know, but he wanted, well, I knew I'm not going to paint that thing. I haven't got time to be fooling around. So they turned it over to one of these portrait painters someplace, you know, the underground. And where they worked on it, they did a terrific job. You know, I got it all. And they signed it, my KTA was their name on it. And so then I was able to wander around and take all my equipment with it. I had special passes to go. And then I come back to the studio and I'd cook, and I make a lot of onion smell and garlic smell, you know, like I'm supposed to be. And sometimes they come in the back and they'd have something with me, or they'd bring some coffee. And they could get it, see, and we'd make a little pot of coffee and sit around. Finally one day this one officer came in and he said, you went to any black? I don't know, way well, you know, get a little coffee, you know, extra. Your name was brought up there. I want to come down there to talk to you. Oh, what's this? Well, while he's still there, I went in the back in the kitchen, I went out the back, took the bike, and I never went back. Later I found out that one of our own people, a collaborator, had turned me in. So that broke that cover. That was all through. I was all through. That didn't last long.
Turned you in for black marketing, for
No,
being
for
a spy?
they don't know. They wondered what the guy, the collaborator, must have told them that I was doing there. I wasn't really what I said, you know. So they wanted to. They were talking about it in the headquarters there, and they were going to send people down. So I took off in the back, and I never went back. And I did never go back there. I never went back into that park.
For some reason I'm getting some unusual noise with this camera. Obviously she's still running.
You all run out of film?
No? I don't know what that noise signifies.
Huh?
Seems to be working okay.
It is?
I think so.
Well, anyway, my next cover, I was an Italian forced labor up in Belgium, working on the railroad, carrying stuff, you know. I carried that one piece of lumber till it got black from my neck, you know, from the thing. And we watched these cars going in and loading up with prisoners, and a lot of them were Jewish people. We weren't, not that we weren't concerned about them, but that was a big operation. You couldn't start breaking them out, and they weren't trained enough to move with us. You know, you get the military, they'll do what you say and go with you. And I'll be honest with you that with all the escapes, there were very few successful ones. Well, that was all right with us, because it really screwed up their military. They would take, just for one escape, they'd have hundreds of people looking, tying up their military. That was the main thing. And then we furnished information and material to these prison camps. And in these prison camps, they had committees, escape committees, and this committee, forging committees, and all sorts of things. But everybody had to do something. But everybody wanted to belong to the polite word follow-up committee. Now, they wouldn't do anything purposefully, but the sort of ignorance, they would make a mistake. Dig a ditch here, 3 feet deep, and they dig it 6 feet deep on the wrong side. Oh, we didn't, you know, these men don't understand. So they fill it up and they go back to the other side. And they're always screwing things up, always messing them up, you know. The count, when they have in the morning, there would be 3 more in the thing, ho, 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 you know. They'd call out names, and then there would be a ho, and then there'd be a ho, and they get through, it'd be 3 more ho. There's only supposed to be 60 in this barracks, now there's 63. Maybe they come over from the other, see. And then they go back, this one's short too, so they escape too. Oh, no, wait a minute. There's now they got 63 again. You know what I mean? It just kept them going all the time. And some tunnels they dug, well, there was one successful one where about 20 of them that they didn't get far. You know, they got picked up and brought back. And that was with the regular army now. Later when SS moved in, then oh, they were terrible. They kill them and punish them by shooting certain people. So, and then after the invasion, oh, that one time, that's how I got that Paris was freed by the Allied troops. They drove the Germans back, and this driver and I were way deep in. That's where it's safe, you know. You keep away from the Americans, because these points that say send the Kentucky hillbillies, boy, they shoot everybody. They've had a little drink, you know. They'll shoot anybody, and they don't take any, you know, you can throw up your hands, but I wouldn't go near them, you know. So it's one time we had these 3 British escapers. We're supposed to bring them through, and we were notified in London to come such and such a route, come through, and they'll be waiting for you. The Americans will let you through. So when we came to the bridge and the German guard was there, he said the Americans are down there. So that my driver was, I also had a top, you know. He talked German to him, and he told him, he said, we're going to go down. The officer wants to reconnoiter down below here. Yes, sir, you know, you do what you want to do. So when we got through, these fellows in the back, they were so exuberant that the guns that were laying, it was a stolen vehicle, you know, a German vehicle. There were some German automatic Schmeichers and them in there, and they started firing back at that bridge. You know, hey, boy, we made it. Well, you know, they make a peculiar sound, the Schmeichers. There's a that is German. You know that gun. And so the Americans thought, you know, they started firing, and you could see the tracers hitting all over the place. Oh, God, then my driver turned to me and said the words, I think we're on the wrong road. We were. So he pulled over, hit the mines, and then just everybody flew all over the place. This one guy in the back was still shooting, and then the pieces were hitting the mines around and blowing it over. That's how I got to be so deaf in my teeth, you know. I must have opened my mouth, they said, pieces went in. Otherwise it would have blown the end of my nose. So it was dark, you know. I can remember running and hiding and going in the bushes and got into the woods, you know, because, you know, I don't know who's going to be out there. And I thought, boy, I'm going quiet. I'm real quiet. They can't hear me, you know. And I broke a branch. I can't hear that. No, maybe right now they're saying, oh, could be American or German. I mean, they'll shoot you. Oh, boy. So I just remembered burying everything, all my credentials, everything I could, except the chafe pass down in my shoe. And it was, because that was terrific. You get anything you wanted with that Eisenhower's pass, you know. But I didn't have time to take off the shoes or anything. And I just tore all the front of my clothes, you know, dragging myself. And later I understood that these French farmer found me, and they didn't know what to do. I said something in for French he couldn't understand it. And then I spoke English, and so he got scared that maybe I was American, I don't know, maybe an escaped prisoner or something. So he covered me up, and he got some friends there, and they dragged me over to the barn, because the Germans were using their farmhouse for bivouac, see? Well, anyway, they got driven out, and they got the Americans when they came down, another outfit down there. They told them about me, and they were trying to talk to me and everything else, and I don't know. So they decided to heck with it. We'll just take him to the medical center there and put him on a plane, send him back to England. So I woke up in this big hospital in England, and there's military police on the doors. Because that's sure who you are, So anyway, I fooled them because I could read lips, and I'd be talking to them. And so I knew right away if they knew I was really deaf, they'd move me back into an area, and then they'd be sent out. That's the end of my career, So I did fool them, I guess. They believed it, and then I'd talk about headaches and all that sort of thing. And I told them what I belonged to, what outfit, and so on. So in the meantime, they had a feeler out. I told them Colonel Danker, he's not in our outfit, but he's the Supreme headquarters, he'd know about it. So they came back and said, oh yes, oh my goodness, what's he doing there? He's supposed to be on a mission out in, and they told him. So in the meantime, in the next room, there was a war correspondent. He'd been hurt. So his friend come down to see him. And they were talking, and so the doctors told him about me, and he said, oh, hey, wait, I'm going to see him. So he talked to me, and he said, say, you sound had a pretty good in life, and he said, I'd like to run a story on you. Oh, I don't know, He said, I'm going to London, and I'll be back in a few days, and I get the permission, you and I are going to sit down. He come back, and he said, no way. They said, no, you can't even admit he's there. See, anything I can do for you? I said, I want to get the hell out of here. And I don't think I'm going to be able to fool him. He said, I know you. I turn my head and talk. You don't even answer. You're reading my lips, aren't you? And I said, yeah. You think you could make it all right? He said, I got to get back. I got to get back. He said, I'll see. He must have had some real clout, because he took me back to London. We went to his apartment. He gave me money. He gave me some clothes, civilian clothes, nice ones. And he said, now I'm going to go over to France, and I don't speak very well there. You want to come with me, and I'll drop you off. And so we went over in the little plane, and I left him. And in the meantime, he said, give me the address of your home address, and I'll tell your wife that, you're doing okay. In the meantime, she had received notice missing in action. She didn't know anything. And later she got wounded in action. Every time something happened, she didn't know. Well, anyway, what did I say that fellow's name was? Yeah, Ed Merle. Well, of course, he's a thin fellow. He smoked a lot. And he was talking, and never occurred to me that he was such a famous person. He's just another war correspondent. Never thought about it anymore. Went back to Paris. My outfit, my God, they were surprised to see me. So they gave me back all my clothes, because they don't say anything. They just divide your stuff up. My nice new boots, everything. So they try to think of something to keep me busy. Maybe you'd like to get down to southern France, they can understand you down there. Oh, I don't mind. So then when I got down there, they had to send me back because they wanted me to go to Switzerland, because there were a bunch up there that I think I could handle, and they gave me, now we had things that we bought. We bought people. We didn't know always go with guns and take them out. We bought them out. People were bribed easily, German, anybody. Now, once you were in Switzerland, you were interned for the war. That's it. You weren't supposed to ever come out. But we used to go down there, or we went then, and first you would have money, gold, rough diamonds, they looked like salt, and cigarettes, cartons. The best was cartons of cigarettes. Gold was too heavy, too bulky. Currency, they didn't want it. And diamonds, they didn't know much about them, didn't know how to market them or anything. But cigarettes, oh man, they just kill you for a wonderful carton of that. So I used to go up there and I'd dicker to get a couple boys out. In the meantime, down the road, the Germans are doing the same damn thing, There's no animosity between us and that kind of business. They had them too, So then the big bulge happened when the Germans came back down through during that cold winter. Oh my God, nobody knows the area but Coletta. I had workers there, I had seminar students, everybody, working me, at that time. Like, and I'd have a radio man, he'd be in a barn someplace, and I'd send these missionary students or the priest or anybody, young people, and then they'd come back and give me the information. Then they'd move, because that's a very dangerous job. I had 4 different radio men, and then they'd disappear, and at the end of it, they'd say, well, so when they came back, they said, there are cars around the barn. That's all I want to know. I'm going, hey, wait a minute, it's your friend. He's no friend of mine. We don't get friends. We're not friends. In fact, in the outfit, if you get too friendly, they break you up. You don't want anybody being heroes and going after anybody. You just go. You get out of there and notify us. We'll drop you another one. So, and that's the time that little Ernie Sardo was up in there, and he got hit, and he froze. And the surprising thing that really saved him was that when I was in Belgium before the big push, I gave a talk to a couple of divisions there on an outfit that helps people escape. Probably never heard of us, but we're out there. And don't always try to escape. That's keep it in your mind. Maybe you'll never make it. There's a way to get out someplace, somehow, And I gave this talk. It was very inspiring, all that crap. And when I got through, this young fellow came up and pulled on my peg leg and the thing, and he said, excuse me, they said your name is Captain Coletta. Are you from Elmira? Yes, I am. He said, I'm Ernie Sardo. Oh, for God's sake. Well, your dad used to help me with magic, John Sardo was a professional. Come on with me. And I took him to the officer's mess, and made a big hero out of him, And then I called him into my tent, and I said, I'm going to give you this stuff to take home, but don't show it to anybody. Silk maps, there's little tiny compasses that fit in the cavity of the teeth, and all of these belong to, and we put them in the survival kits for the air people, but we also got some extra stuff in here. I don't want anyone to see it. Then later after the war, you can have them. So he put them in pockets. Later, when he was hit, and they picked him up, and they gave him morphine, they were doctors, at least humane, and they were closed, they cleaned it up, and they found these in, they got all excited, they had a spy. So the interrogator said, do anything you can, keep him going, keep him alive. Take off whatever you have to do and keep him alive. Because we talked to him later, that German major there, that was medical, he said, yeah, they told him, we just worked on that boy. And when I saw him, I thought, he'll never make it. So we had him flown to Paris. The Americans, Army, were moving forward. We didn't liberate him ourselves. But I went looking for the people I knew in there, and I thought, he won't make it there. So I wrote a letter to his mother, and I told her how bad it was, all these things, and I don't think he's going to make it. You better loan, So later, I happened to be back into Paris, and I wanted to go see if some of my boys were made up all right, and never thought to ask about him, because, they said, oh, you got one here called Ernie Sardo. I said, oh my, you mean he's still, you go and see him. He's in there joking to the nurses and so on. He's having a hell of a time. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. Well, anyway, he came home. He did so wonderful. He got married, had children. He worked for the reformatory for years, and a terrific guy, And another experience we had when we moved up to one of the camps way up, I was looking for this Di Maria boy. I knew he was a prisoner in there. So that it was the people running all over. The guards were coming up with their hands up, prisoners running all over the direction, the army moving in. So I'm trying to find out where Di Maria is. I'll get him the hell out of there from all of it. Make it easy for him, And so one fellow said, oh, I think he and his friend went that way. Oh, what do you mean? That's towards the Russian front. Why didn't he come down with everybody? I don't know. So I got an interpreter, because I know Russians are up there. These little patrols are all up there. So we drove, and we went through a little village, and this lady said, yeah, they took 2 bicycles. Okay, now we're nowhere on the track. Finally we came, and there's a little camp there, and there was some Russian soldiers, and there's Di Maria sitting by the fire, and his friend laying on the ground. He was pretty sick. And I thought, well, now we're going to have a hell of a time again. Looking around for officers. There weren't any officers around. So I had asked them about the officers. Oh, they're back there, they'll be here in a few hours, you know. Oh, well, we want to get these two Americans. Well, I don't know, we have to wait till our officers come here, you know. Well, there are people, and they're going to be pretty sick, and one of them's got a disease, you know. That didn't affect them. So then we gave them our wristwatches and anything we could get, and it took everything, you know. And they let us go, because I figured those officers come out, oh boy, we're going to be in problems, even ourselves. So we got them out of there. We laid them down on the back of because he could hardly move. And I laid the boy there on board, and we took him on that little vehicle. We drove back. And then I took him finally to one of these camps where they process everybody, and I had him looked at. And I said, "Oh, look now, Harvey, you're strong now. Would you like to go to Paris? Everything's paid for. The Red Cross has a big building there. You can see. I want to go home. Don't you just, hey, everybody wants to go to Paris. Look, I'll give you a nice pile of money here. You go down and have buy some souvenirs and everything else. Everything is taken." He wanted to go home. So we put him on a boat and sent him home. Well, he got married, and he had a good family, but he had mental problems. He had really bad. And we had him in the VAs on really all the time, Canandaigua. Finally, he died not long ago.
He worked for you for a while, too.
He what?
He worked for you for a while.
No.
Yeah, and that store you had when you were starting up the Italian food store.
No, I don't believe so.
Yes, you did.
But I tell you, no, when I used to go on lecture tour, I used to bring him with me, you know, and of course the part that made me laugh is when we walked in, he's more or less face like mine, you know. Well, they wanted him. And they'd go and shake his hand, "Glad to have you here," and he'd look at me. I said, "No, I'm the speaker." He loved to go with me to try, you know. And, well, speaking of that, when I got through, when I got back, I was one of the lucky few to have something to do. And because most when they came back, the war was over, the bands weren't playing, and you're on nothing again. Where you had power over life and death, nothing now, you know. Who wants to hear you? But people did want to hear it, and they wanted to pay for it. So it happened to be the Lions Club once. Said, "Could you come down and tell us about your experience?" I said, "Oh, hell, everybody's been in this thing. Don't come and tell." Well, okay, I went down and I wrote out a little talk about escape and all that, underground, different thing. And it went over big. So the Rotary Club said, "Would you come down? $50 or $60. I said, "Yeah, as long as it's lasting here for a couple of days, I'll do it." Well, it happened to be an agent for one of these big, he came down and he come up and he said, "Could we handle you?" And I said, "Well, gee, I don't know. I wouldn't want to sign something and then find the thing fizzles out." He said, "We'll book you a year in advance and during this year and so on." And he told us what their fee would be, and then I don't have to collect, they'd collect everything. Well, okay, we'll take a try at it, you know, and my God, I was on the road all the time, 3 a day, high school, colleges, universities, clubs, and so on. Then I got a big break for the big money. These were usually $150 or $200. And it seems that an adventure speaker called Frank Buck, Bring Him Back Alive, he was supposed to be speaking in, I think, Buffalo or something, and he was down in Florida, down in South America. He didn't give a damn whether they did it or not, you know. They had to have an adventure speaker. Where are we going to get him? So they contacted my agency. This was the National Dinner Club. You usually had to be an author or something, but they were going to, I wrote that little article for the Life. They said that's good enough, you know. It wasn't anything. So that was big. There were 500, 600. Of course, he was getting 1,000. In those days, that's a lot of money. So it went over big. Oh, gee. So then they had the lectures like Behind Enemy Lines, Cloak and Dagger Today, Adventure Was My Password. You know, big sellers. I mean, they just ate them up. Women clubs were just going bananas with it and all over. Some people came to hear me 4 or 5 times, you know, from different places. So finally they had a thing that really put it over. They had a national poll of all the lecturers and speakers in Canada and the United States, picking the 10 best. Well, I'll tell you, I made the 10. I was number 2. And I got beat by Lowell Thomas Sr. He was the ultimate. He was, I mean, he was my God. He'd fascinate you. You know, and he was also a commentator on radio. You just sit there and you'd be paralyzed just listening to them. But anyway, I came number 2. Of course, the paper here, they had headlines, you know. Oh, they just, then the thing went up, the prices went up, everything. And then I'm right in Syracuse one day, I had passed out. And the police took me into the drugstore and they didn't know what to do. So finally, they decided I'd had some sort of a relapse or something. So they shipped me to Syracuse VA. You could see I was in papers I had. And they shipped me to that. And I thought I was going to be there a few days. They kept me almost a month. And then I was having a hard time functioning, you know, and starting to get this arthritic thing, and everything seemed to be piling up. So I had them cancel out, and that ended that career. That, you know. And then, of course, all that money, here I am in the intelligence. I'm supposed to be, oh, I got a terrific IQ. Really? I had all that money. I had a lot of it. I lost it all in 2 or 3 months. Bad investments, lost everything. This was in the middle of the talks, too. And I owed a lot of money. But I paid everybody back $1 on $1. I went out and I earned it speaking, and that was it. I ended up with nothing. I would have had a lot of money. But I got scammed, you know, into these things that I believed in. I was going to make $1 million. I ended up with nothing. So intelligence doesn't mean intelligence. That you're really smart. Have a lunch now, you know. It's a broccoli sandwich. You ever have broccoli sandwich?
Broccoli sandwich?
Mm-hmm.
This, is this a low-cal diet you're on right now, sir?
No, just the first thing I can get my hands on. Sometimes I have a sliced cucumber sandwich.
Yeah, sliced cucumber sandwich,
Mhm.
little mayos on it,
No, just eat
Oh,
them in
yeah.
there. Celery sandwich.
celery sandwich.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now do you want to ask for something, or do you want?
Oh, okay, yes, we're back. We're fighting World War II. That's the one that happened before Vietnam, but after World War I for you history buffs. This man here just about did it by himself. However, I'm going to let him tell you about it. Meanwhile, while he's on the war, I'm being raised as a little tiny child back on the home front with all the ration stamps, not the same as food stamps, called ration stamps. You want to explain all about the home front while you were fighting the war, how well we were doing back here?
Yeah, make it short though.
No, you. I'm
Oh.
not going to do it. This is your document.
I don't know anything about what happened back here. I thought you were doing fine. Eating high on the hog and everything while we're over there starving, eating steaks and things. Really rough.
Do you hear a bell?
What?
Do you hear a bell?
Hear what bell?
Never mind. That was a telephone.
I didn't hear anything.
Okay. He's
Well,
dead.
anyway, I don't know anything about your stupid thing. I know you had a goat, and your pet, and then your grandpa wanted to kill it, and they wouldn't allow it to him because he didn't have meat stamps, remember?
No, I was just a little child. I don't know.
Or whatever.
But weren't our aunts, my grandparents before the war, you know, they sort of like pro-Mussolini?
Were they what?
Pro-Mussolini.
Oh, yeah, he was a great guy, sure. They gave their rings and everything else with gold, you know, to help him out. And I think these guys that raised him did a beautiful Italian, and they used to speak very eloquently. And all these old women take all the rings. They probably had it melted and used it themselves. I don't think old Musclehead there saw it, you know. Well, never mind him. I forgot to tell you that when I got through and got home and on the lecture chair, I'm right in the middle of one down in St. Louis when I called to see how you kids were, and Mother said, oh, you got a call from Washington. Call that number. And I called up, and they called me back into Washington. Cancel out what you got. You're going to Korea. Well, you know, we got our outfit set up, but the escape thing didn't work good there. God, who were we going to pass for? We didn't look like anybody, you know. And they were using helicopters and everything else. So they sent me back after I'd been there a little while. What a mess over there. They sent me back to United States, and I became a member of the faculty at the Army General School and a writer. And I did that for quite a while, and finally things got a little bit, you know, they weren't favor of the Army, regular Army. Thought we had too much freedom, too much money, and too much rank. Why, I mean, I'm a captain, but during the working, while I was in the outfit, we could wear any rank we wanted, because sometimes we pick up a major, and he started getting a little arrogant. He outranked, and I want to go out, and I speak French, and he wanted to go out into the public, and I told him, so finally we decided we better change our rank a little bit. We outranked anybody came through, otherwise they could mess us up down there, and so we moved them down through. So the Army didn't like the idea of that, that we seemed to be getting away with so much, no discipline, nothing in any how. So it sort of carried over into the Korean thing, and they called us the IS, whatever it was, escape evasion, EES. They called it, and just sort of a mockery. And then they had these West Pointers coming in command. They're nice boys, they were wonderful, but everything by the book, age 62, Oh, you don't work that way, So they sort of hung me around. They finally gave me a title to keep me busy, Chief of Army Special Intelligence. Oh, that was a terrific, but what? What was that shot? Of what? I didn't have anything to do. I wasn't even writing anymore. In fact, the last thing, I almost got court-martialed. He and another officer and I were told to write conduct during interrogation by the communists. Okay? Well, we decided, hey, instead of this rank, name and serial number and then get your teeth beat in, say, wait a minute, I'm going to tell you what's going on around here. And we give them stories to use, And that's going to confuse these Orientals. They're not used to that. They want to beat you up because you won't answer, see? Oh, they didn't like that. Oh, we heard from Washington. So they accepted the book that I wrote for Behind Enemy Lines. That became compulsory reading, how to escape and all that sort of thing. And it was a manual. So finally, that was it. I was all through, went home. That ended, and I came home. I started looking for something to do. I'm not trained for anything. I couldn't go into police work. It wasn't exactly that. I could be an interrogator. Yeah, that would be fine. But who needs interrogators? So then we opened a little food store, over here around the corner, and we did pretty good. And then it was getting too much. We were too successful, so I quit. I couldn't handle it. Well, that's about it. I mean, I wouldn't say I was a great success at anything, but I enjoyed. I got banged up a lot. I got blown up. I got beat up, but always by the Americans. When I came through, we had to be careful. I got beat up one time. This OSS fella, great big guy, I wouldn't answer his question, so he hit me in the mouth and broke. Well, he loosened the teeth. I got false teeth now. And he was horrible to me till he found out who I was. And oh my God, he couldn't make it up. He just did anything, because this was ultra secret, Oh, gee, he turned out to be a terrific friend of mine. His name was Lagatuda, great big, handsome guy. Reminded me of one of these movie stars that played Samson. What was his name? Well, whatever. But anyway, poor old thing. In the Korean thing, he ended up at our Army General School, and he was cracking up. A lot of these agents cracked up because all of that responsibility is gone. That king, being a king, is gone. You're God. You're no longer a God. You're just a person. And he couldn't take it. He was breaking up. So they sent him to Korea. Go in there with somebody. They got killed when they got him in there. So, of course, those were heroes in OSS. They used to blow up bridges. So not us. We weren't. Oh, I got a few citations. I got a Bronze Star. I don't remember what it was for. And another time we got a Bronze Star. Seems that when they were dropping these canisters down, parachute equipment, for the underground and our people, we'd open up and find out guns and ammunition that wouldn't fit anything that we had. So we got a word that there was an outfit way down in southern France that was there, shipment. So we said, let's take it down. So we got these 2 trucks, they were wood burners, you know. So like Tunaville, everybody's hanging on, we're going down. No resistance, nothing. We went right down the main roads, about 50, 60 kilometers. And then just before we got to that little town, we decided to clean up. We'd shave and clean, look real nice, you know. We washed our clothes and tried to lay on them so they'd be nice and clean. And so that next day we went in and they were, how'd you get here? What do you mean? What do you mean? The Germans, they had moved into the area behind us. They were just solid in there. Nothing was going to move through there. They thought we went through all that. Well, we didn't say anything. Well, you know what I mean, you gotta know how to do it, see. So we gave them well, right there, the colonel in charge, you men are gonna get cited for this. Well, our outfit isn't too improved to that. So we lined us up and they took photographs of Brown Star and all that sort of thing. Anybody got a scratch for Purple Heart? Those poor guys that got hurt bad in the war were getting the same thing as it was really ridiculous. So when I told one of my people back in Paris, I said, I got a Brown Star, he's wonderful. That and a nickel will buy a cup of coffee. They didn't think much about it, because that's the way the outfit worked, because it seemed that every time, and we try to keep deep in, that's safe way down in there. As soon as the Americans came forward, and they moved so fast. God, I'd be in a hotel looking down, seeing the Germans at the corners all, sandbagged, and I'm very comfortable. They were protecting me, Geez, you look the next day, there comes the Americans. Of course it's all right, you could, and then when they're all there, you wave to them and ask them for cigarettes, And I went to this one Jeep, with these 2 GIs were in there, and I said, cigarette? He said, look at this long nose son of a bitch. He wants a cigarette. I said, who the hell are you called, you son of a... And I started swearing. He, wait a minute, you sound like an American. I said, I am. Oh, geez, get in here. And then they took me with them, they gave me everything. Of course, I didn't smoke. But cigarettes and candy. They had one of these little 10 halves, and everybody was throwing stuff in there. And they found out I was a spy,
Jim,
But,
I'm going to lay down for,
okay, you're on TV.
for,
You're on camera. You want to come and say it?
no,
She wants to go to bed right now.
no,
The rest of the
wait a minute, no, Jim, I just have to for 10 minutes
Okay.
with a poor dog, she's crying.
Okay, as I was saying, this running tape now.
Please bring her in, don't be so cruel.
Yeah, bring the dog in, big baby. Do you got any advice out there for people
I
who
don't know,
want to
what
go
have
to
you
war?
got, what have
Stay
you got
home.
for the kids when you pick them up?
I'll turn it off, Joe. I'll take
These are some pictures of the old homestead here. Weather's raining right now. It's still March 18th, 1991. Give you something to keep in mind what this is all about. The addition that was put on to accommodate the sub-stores over on the left. As you can say, there's been changes made to this house over the years. It's over 100 years old. So are the dwellings all around it about the same. Making a complete circle. And there's the ice cream stand. The bar is closed.